Welcome back to Wall of Gate, where passion meets music. And in this episode, I am going to be going through and choosing my favourite prog musicians to form a prog rock supergroup. So, shout out to one of the subscribers, Peter Woodhouse. Thanks very much, Peter, for this idea. I saw your comment on one of my videos. So, guys, comment below, because if you comment below, then I'll be able to get on to do those videos that you suggest if I think they're worth it. And this one is definitely worth it. So, my prog rock supergroup. Peter had suggested putting 2 guitar players, 1 rhythm, 1 lead. But for my money, prog is basically progressive rock. You need to have a keyboard in there. And it really works best when you've got 5 members like Yes or Genesis. So, I've gone for the approach of 1 singer, 1 guitar player, someone on keys, organs, synths, a bass player, and a drummer, percussionist. Okay? And I've picked 7 bands, the 7 most important prog rock bands of all time. They are as follows: Yes, Genesis, King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Jethro Tull, Pink Floyd, and Rush. So I'm going to only pick members from those elite bands in prog rock. And another catch, I've tried to make this hard for myself, because I would just say, the 5 members from Yes and maybe swap out 1 or 2 of them. But I can't do that. I have to pick only 1 member from a band. So, for example, I can't have 2 Genesis players in there. I can't have 2 Yes players in there. I can't have 2 ELP players in there. So this was really, really tough. But I spent a bit of time thinking about it, and I hope you appreciate the list that I have together. So let's get straight into it. So I'm going to start off with the drums. Okay, now this was really difficult because there's loads of progressive rock drummers that I absolutely love. I love Bill Bruford, especially his early work on the Yes albums, but I also love his work in King Crimson. I actually love Alan White's work with Yes in the 1970s, mid to late 1970s. I think he does a fantastic job with the band. And albums such as Drama is amazing. Tormato, I really like. Going for the One. Those are all fantastic albums. So I think he is a great drummer. He didn't make the list though, and neither did Bill. Phil Collins as well, another fantastic drummer. Of course, he was the drummer with Genesis, and then later went on to become their frontman, their vocalist as well. But I just don't think any of them can make it. And as well, if I pick someone now from those bands, that's that band finished. I can't pick anyone else from that band. So I've strategically picked the drummer who I think should fit in here. And this drummer is more of a rock drummer who's in the kind of dipping his toe into progressive rock. Very accomplished drummer, don't get me wrong. Absolutely love this drummer. I think he's amazing. But I think there's better progressive rock drummers out there, but not by much. And because I need to choose 1 from each band, this is what I'm going. I'm going for Neil Peart on the drums, okay? So Fly By Night, that was his first studio album with the band. So I'm going for Neil Peart on the drums still. All right. Next, we're going to move on to keys. Okay, so this one was difficult. We've got some fantastic keyboard players out there in the world of prog rock, as we know. We've got Rick Wright with Pink Floyd. We've got Rick Wakeman with Yes. But the person I've gone for is, again, I've picked someone who I think is a fantastic keyboard player, very, very accomplished. But I've also picked someone who I know I won't be picking anyone else from that band. And the person that loses out here is Greg Lake, okay? Because Greg Lake played with King Crimson and he played with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. But I would love to put Greg Lake in, but I can't put Greg Lake in because I'm putting in Keith Emerson. So Keith Emerson is coming in as my keyboard player in this prog rock supergroup, okay? From ELP. So there you go. This is Tarkus from ELP. So Keith Emerson is in behind the keys. So now we've got our drummer, we have Neil Peart, and we have our keyboard player, Keith Emerson. Next, I'm going to move on to guitars, okay? So on this one, this is extremely difficult, extremely difficult. Every single one of these bands has an amazing guitar player, and they're all different in all different ways. Of course, we've got Alex Lifeson in Rush, who is a fantastic guitar player. He takes a little bit from jazz fusion, but he also plays a lot of rock and a lot of blues in his playing. He didn't make the list. We've got Dave Gilmour in there, who I think is a fantastic guitar player, but not the right fit for prog, in my opinion. Not technical enough for progressive rock. Great guitar player, great blues rock guitar player, but he doesn't make the list either. We have, of course, Steve Hackett from Genesis. Again, he doesn't make the list. Very technical guitar player, but he doesn't make the list. It went down to two, to be honest, of who was going to make this list. It was Robert Fripp from King Crimson and Steve Howe from Yes. And I absolutely love Steve Howe from Yes. I think he's a phenomenal progressive rock guitarist. He's got like so many influences: folk, rock, jazz fusion. He's got all different classical, all these different elements mixed into his style. But again, if I pick Steve Howe from Yes, I can't pick anyone else from Yes. So I have to be very strategic with who I've picked. So I've gone with Robert Fripp because he's the only King Crimson member that I am going to pick, okay? I haven't picked Bill Bruford, and I haven't picked Greg Lake, and I haven't picked anyone else from any of the other King Crimson lineups. So I've gone with Robert Fripp on guitars for this prog rock supergroup, and that's purely down to selection. I probably would have gone with Steve Howe, but I need to keep my options open. Okay, so the reason I haven't picked Greg Lake is because I've obviously picked other King Crimson because he was in two bands. He was in King Crimson and he was in Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And I've picked I've picked Keith Emerson and I've picked Robert Fripp. So that essentially rules out Greg Lake for bass. Okay. I really wanted to pick Chris Squire on bass because I think he is probably the most underrated member of Yes, and he was the longest serving member of Yes, and I just think he's amazing. I think he's an absolute genius. But if I picked Chris Squire, I couldn't pick John Anderson. And I'm just looking at the vocals from all these bands, right? So we've got John Anderson with Yes, we've got Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins with Genesis. We've got Greg Lake on bass and vocals with ELP. King Crimson had various different vocalists there, including Greg Lake for a period. We have Jethro Tull, of course, Ian Anderson, and then we have Rush with Geddy Lee. And Pink Floyd, with a combination of Roger Waters and Dave Gilmour. So for me, I think John Anderson is head and shoulders the best vocalist of all those selections. So he has to be the vocalist, which knocks out Chris Squire. So it's very unfortunate that Chris can't make the list, but I have to go with John Anderson on vocals. Okay, so this is really tedious when you try and pick only one from each band. So on bass, the only options I really had left on bass was Mike Rutherford from Genesis, and I obviously picked someone from Rush before, so Geddy Lee was out. So then it was Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, and I'm sorry, there's no contest there. Like, Mike Rutherford is a far superior bass player than Roger Waters. So Mike Rutherford gets the nod on this one. I haven't picked anyone from Jethro Tull. I'm not probably the biggest fan of Jethro Tull yet. I may be in a couple of years when I really get into them, but I've picked members from Rush, from Yes, from Genesis, from ELP, and from King Crimson. So Jethro Tull and Pink Floyd are the two bands that were left out. So we'll just run through the lineup again. This is my favorite, my best guess at my prog rock supergroup, and this is the best way I could fit it in by picking one member from each band. Okay, so on drums I've got Neil Peart from Rush. On keys, I've got Keith Emerson from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. On bass, I've got Mike Rutherford from Genesis. On guitar, I've got Robert Fripp from King Crimson. And on vocals, I've got John Anderson from Yes. So thanks very much, Peter. That was very challenging to get that list together, let me tell you. Took a lot of searching there and thinking and swapping players in and out to get to that list. But it was very challenging. I enjoyed it. And I would like everybody out there watching the video to tell me in the comments below what your top 5 piece prog rock supergroup is. And please just include one person from each band. See how difficult that is. And I'd be very interested to see what people think out there and who they will substitute in and out to make this list. So if you liked the video, stick a like on it. If you could also subscribe, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.